age of social media, all it takes nowadays to spark up an online fight is to merely have an opinion. One opinion will cause many to spiral into a pit hole of anger where no one dialogues, only insults the person who has the unpopular or even the popular opinion regarding the latest trends in comic books, movies, or pulp culture. It makes sense given the circumstance. After all, acting tough behind the protective wall of the black mirror we all own and use on a daily basis makes it easy for anyone to jump right into a tirade of insults and threats. Again, just for having an opinion that they may disagree with. I decided to go against that notion. I've decided to start a video series where we discuss the hot topic issues within the comic book industry and pulp culture and provide you with another perspective. One of logic, reason, with just plain old dialogue between two people who have different opinions. My co-host and I will discuss the pop culture topics at hand in a fun, engaging, and respectable manner. So, without further ado, let's talk about it.
A person who's creative is an artist, no matter what he's creating in. And if they're creative in that respect, they don't even care about their audience. Fellini, when he makes a film, he doesn't care whether anybody ever sees it or not.
Truly? Is that a quote from Fellini?
That's a quote from Fellini.
Is that right? Interesting. I wonder if that really doesn't play hob with the function of an artist. If indeed you can say that I create for my own sake, my own edification, my own titillation, and to hell with anybody else, is that truly a gauge of art as a form? Because isn't art a shared experience? Isn't the excellence of art dependent on a reaction from the outside to someone's work?
I think that
that'll be just about enough out of you, Doris. If I hear another word out of you.
I think the director who said he doesn't care about the audience's reaction is caring about it. I mean, it may be his intention. Bergman said at one point that the audience needed medicine and it was his to dole out, but he still thinks of the audience as an integral part of making the work. That is, when he directs a scene, it will be seen by people someday. Therefore, he takes the audience into account.
I mean, it might not be the present audience. It's carted the music into the barn.
Mm-hmm. In other words,
we hear it now.
You know, aware of the fact that this may not make it in my time,
right,
but ultimately shall make it. Of course, I think isn't there a risk you run if you preoccupy yourself with audience reaction at the expense of either your own integrity or your own artistic judgment? I'm convinced that 90% of the writers who walk around laying claim to the honored sobriquet of writer are thinking in a sizable portion of their mind, will they love it in Des Moines? Will they understand it in New Orleans? And consequently will deliberately prostitute and write downward to what they believe is the lowest common denominator. And when you start to preoccupy yourself, I think you're in trouble. This is not to say that I wouldn't share the Fellini feeling, if indeed that's the way he thinks, that I will write only for dirty old Rod, and that which pleases me must please you, and if it doesn't, to hell with you. But the reverse, I think, the concern should also be extant that I must realize that because I am writing in an art form, the whole function of the art form is to be translated to other people. There's an emotional experience to be shared. Consequently, it isn't just me and my tower. It's how people will react to what I write.
Well, hello there. Woo! That was like the deep wisdom there. Woo! By Rod Serling. For those who don't know, Rod Serling is the creator of The Twilight Zone, the creator of Night Gallery, and he also wrote the screenplay for the original Planet of the Apes movie. And this was a video series that was conducted by UCLA students, I believe. So it's not really, doesn't really say on the video there in the description. But yeah, it fit right to what the theme of the show today is going to be. And so I thought I'd share with you guys because it was chock full of really good wisdom stuff when it comes to, you know, writing and not just writing for movies or TV like he did, but writing in general, novels, comic books. But before we do that, welcome back. We're back.
Yeah. Well, little slight hiatus.
Yeah, yeah, a little slight hiatus on that on our part because sometimes real life gets a little heavy, and as you can see, Mr. Combo Kyle here has a stint because of a
Yeah,
that he was in just a week ago, actually.
yeah.
Which is the reason why we didn't have a show last week. We were supposed to go for the show, and then he got into a car accident. But Kyle, I'll let you tell the story real quick about what happened to you.
Oh, it was a stupid thing. I was, going through an intersection. They were turning, supposed to yield for me. I had the green light, and they just went out right in front of me. And, I was trying to hold back the airbag for some reason, and the airbag won. So, got a little bit of a fracture in my wrist. So,
Hairline fracture. Ben says, "Hey Ben, how's it going?" Oli's also here. He also wrote a western called Saddle the Wind. The hero of the story, if I remember correctly, never fires a single shot. Now that is a writing prompt. Now that is one hell of a writing prompt.
that
Write a
sounds like
character,
something.
huh?
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say write a cowboy that never shoots a single shot of his gun. That's what a challenge there, right?
I was gonna say, because I just watched it recently, it'd be kind of like Rambo, the first one, where, like, even though he shoots, he doesn't kill anybody.
All
Or he
right,
kills,
a
like, one
soldier, right?
person.
An ex-soldier who
Yeah.
who's in the war of sorts with the local police, never kills anybody. So that's another factor there. That's a tidbit of information. But yeah, we had a hiatus. There's a lot going on. I was busy with trying to get my books fulfilled, trying to get them printed, and talking to printers and all that stuff. So good news on that front. Vigilant Furies finally going to printers. So we got that
Yay!
going. Reset Protocol is in the printers right now, so I'm waiting for them to send me the books. And I'm still haven't pulled the trigger yet on the foil covers because I'm still kind of waiting on that, kind of see how the book looks, and if I like what I see, then I'll pull the trigger and be able to fulfill that too. But yeah, things are moving on my end, a little slower than what I wanted originally, but hey, they're moving, and that's all that matters. So there's that, and now we're back. We're back to talk about something that Kyle and I have been talking about for the past few weeks now, actually, because he and I, we work together, and so every time he picks up a few books or I pick up a few books, we always discuss what we read, and he gives me his thoughts as to what he read in terms of what just came out, and I give him my thoughts of the older books that I've read, checked out, and we kind of exchange what we think about what we read, and so it's been pretty interesting so far. And he pointed out something to me a few weeks back that at first, it was like, yeah, I have noticed that, but then it started gnawing at me. It's just like, why is this bothering me so much? And then I read an old Captain America issue that was produced and printed, I believe, in the late 80s, early 90s.
Somewhere around
And
there.
yeah, and so as I was reading it and I was remembering what Kyle was telling me, and that is the lack of action in a lot of these superhero comics. And that's one of the main reasons why and I'm sure I'm not alone in this, picked up comic books to begin with. It's because we picked up an issue of a Spider-Man, of an X-Men book, Wolverine, Superman, Batman, whatever the case may be. And I'm not saying that every issue was chock full of action and no character development, but most issues, if not all of them, had a little bit of action here and there sprinkled throughout the issue alongside character development and also talking head scenes, which are also important in not just comics but in every medium of storytelling, be it movies, TV. You always got to have a break. You don't want to overwhelm the audience or the reader with just too much action. You got to sometimes have breathers in between, so that way they can have a moment to really comprehend and digest what they're watching and seeing. So that's why we decided that today's show, we called it Lazy Writers, because another thing that Kyle pointed out to me that I thought was also interesting was the fact that there's a lot of the trope that most modern comic books are doing now is skipping the action. So it leads up to an action scene.
Implied action.
Yeah. And then when you're like, oh sweet, we're gonna see a cool little 2-3 page action sequence, and then you turn the page
and
it's
it's gone.
It's gone. The hero stands triumphant over the villain or the group of villains, whatever, or the monster, and you're like, oh, okay, maybe they're saving it for later in the issue, and then you keep on reading it, hoping that happens, and then you find out it's just nothing but talking heads for the rest of the issue.
And then like one little tag at the end that says, "Oh yeah, next issue, then we're gonna fight."
Yeah, and then they don't fight.
No.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Have you read the next issue of the book that we're gonna point out, or no?
I mean, I've been reading them. Whether or not I keep on reading them is a different question.
Yeah, right.
Because that's like what Julius was saying is, I pick up these new books and I try them out. I get them because, like, for some of these examples, I got them specifically because of either it was a writer or an artist that I know and that usually has done pretty good work, and or if it's an ongoing series that has like tie-ins to other stuff, or if it's like a really cool concept that, like, oh yeah, I would love to see that happen. And when I get the book, I expected the book to be what they were selling it as. It's almost like false advertising in a way, because once I actually get the book and I'm like, wait, this is what I paid for? I didn't. Right. I mean, right. I was expecting something completely different, and what I got, I don't think was worth the $5 I paid.
What book was this? If you want to, share.
Oh, we'll go over. We're gonna go over.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
So Ben says, I just watched John Longbox's interview. Oh, by the way, John Longbox YouTube channel, superb channel. I highly recommend you guys subscribe to his channel because he does good work there. Interview with Tom DeFalco. Oh, nice. The other day, and he talked about this. He didn't get how modern comics had no action or no B or C stories. That's another thing that is missing in today's comics, is that you're being charged $5, $6 sometimes, depending, and it's a 22-page comic book because the rest of it is just ads.
Right.
And
that's a whole separate issue, but
yeah, right. And I have noticed that there is no B or C sub stories that happen, with other characters or other supporting characters. It's just following the main character, which is fine, but it again, there's no action, there's no conflict. There's some conflict, but it's not anything that will leave you at the edge of your seat, that will leave you hungry for the next issue. It's just kind of like, okay, cool. It's kind of like going through the motions in a lot of ways. That's what it feels like to me when I read mostly modern, corporate owned comics.
Now, in terms of like the books that I'm gonna show some examples. We're gonna show some examples of some of the books that I talked about. Now, this is different from what we've talked about before, where we see books that are like written and drawn with the intention that basically this is going to become like a movie or TV show, basically.
Right. Yes.
That this is sort of different from that, where even that sort of way of doing it isn't necessarily the best way to do comic books either.
Yeah.
This is different from that, in that it is purely comic book storylines. Like, this is what's supposed to be. I mean, I guess one of them could be, you could technically have done a movie about it, but it's comic book storylines that are in comic books, but yet still sort of fail getting me interested in the book.
Right. Which is a bad sign, because you're very easy. I don't want to say you're easy like to entertain, but you are very what I've noticed about you, Kyle, is that you're very open and very eager to want to get into
and forgiving
a book. Yeah, and very forgiving too. You're very gracious with, like, the second issue didn't really capture me, didn't really keep me, but I'm gonna try one more. I'm gonna give it one more shot. And so you do. Yeah. You give it one more shot. You go for the third issue, and then sometimes when they give you like a dangling carrot, you're like, yeah, the issue was pretty good, but I don't know. I'm gonna try the fourth issue. So you are really gracious with your with how forgiving you are when, I guess when you're being led on by the creative team of the books you pick up.
But that only goes so far, though.
Of course, for all of us, I'm a bit more cynical in my older age. So after the first issue, if you don't hook me in the first issue, I'm done. Like
I
I'm
know that's
stopping.
what we were talking about, at our work is like when we talk about our levels of like uh mediocre or
Mm,
average.
yeah,
Our
right,
levels of average are very different from one another because where you have been, reading books from, the 80s and 90s and, mainly that era. And while I have as well, and that's sort of, giving me more forethought and more info into modern comic books. A
right.
lot of the stuff that I'm reading though is modern comic books. So in terms of the standards that modern comic books are, I judge it from other modern comic books where you're judging it from 80s books.
Well, not just 80s
And
books, but also 20 plus years of reading comic books,
with that too, yes.
and reading really good stuff, and then seeing it kind of, which is the reason why I stopped buying corporate owned comic books, because I started to notice the decline in quality, and they were
Hmm.
charging me more per issue. And I was like, well, what's the trade off here? You're charging me more, but shouldn't you give me more story if you're charging me more? I don't mean more pages. I'm just talking about quality story. I could tolerate 22-page stories, but you got to give me something I could chew on.
Right. Well, and that's the thing too, is like, you've had the experience of, like I said, reading long runs of
Yeah,
these stories
right,
and lots of, and like I've been reading my fair share, but I've been mainly reading like the major stories, like the major ones that everybody reads and everybody can agree on that
right,
is really good.
right,
You've had the experience of reading storylines. It's like, yeah, it was in the run, and these like few issues in the run were really good, and these, few issues in the run were really good, but they're not like notable
right,
issues that
right.
you like
Yeah,
have to recommend to every single person. So it's like your standard for that is a lot, I would say a lot better than the standard of what modern comic books are, because modern comic books compared to those, and we'll get into that, like especially the Captain America one,
yeah.
is just like night and day difference.
Huge 9-day difference. And that's and people wonder why the comic book industry is suffering. It's not because of, I mean, even though they played a factor, like the COVID shutdowns, or manga, the rise of manga. I mean, those play big, not big factors, but factors in the decline of American comic book sales. But again, for me, in my own experience, it's mainly because of the lowering of quality in terms of stories, in terms of writers who have been hired in the past 10 years, who kind of come in and maybe in the beginning had a strong love for it, but now they kind of like are just phoning it in and not really caring as much. And that's the main factor there, is care. How much care do you put into your work? And
Right.
is it your best? Are you giving us your best? Because if you are, I'm sorry to say, it's not good enough for the most part. There are exceptions to that rule, obviously, but for the most part, from what you've recommended to me, or what you were like, hey, maybe you should check this one out. I like it's pretty good. But then when I read it, I'm like, yeah, I've read better. So
Right. I know. That's the thing. It's like I recommend you some of these books, these modern books, and then unless it's like super exceptional, like top tier type of thing that that I see,
oh, go ahead,
you
finish
know,
your thought.
and then it's like you read it, it's like, yeah, that was good. Yeah,
Yeah, like for instance, Rook is probably the only one from the Ghost Machine line that I'm like, this one I like the most, because it's not there where I would call it superb or exceptional, but it's enough for me to be like, I want to know what happens next, because I like the setup here. I like how Jeff Johns set it up, and I love the artwork. The artwork is freaking absolutely stunning.
right.
But that's it. That's the only one out of all the other book lines. And then you were recommending me Red Coat, and I'm leaning towards Red Coat because it does involve a lot of conspiratorial stuff that I do enjoy in my stories. So I might check that one out next, just to see if maybe I like it. Maybe I find it intriguing enough to pick it up
Right.
when I read it.
But and it just in terms, it's not saying that every single modern book that's coming out is, you know, terrible written and
Right.
terrible
Right.
drawn and stuff like that. There's obviously books out there that are really good, and we'll talk about those. But it was just because of these. We have a few examples that I want to, do we want to get into that right now?
Sure. Yeah. Which what you want me to pull up?
Let's just go in order. So the first one, which is the Ultimates. So this is
The
the
Ultimate.
brand new Ultimates storyline. Now, I picked this up specifically because I've been reading the Jonathan Hickman's Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man run, which I have
Ultimate Spider-Man, right?
Ultimate Spider-Man.
Okay.
And I have been really enjoying that. Although, again, some of the issues have been a problem.
Yeah.
Because, again, no action happens or it's just talking heads. And it's like it didn't need to be that way. But anyway, I picked the Ultimates up. And from the start, like the first issue was pretty good. Second issue, I didn't really care for. And then this third issue was the one that I really noticed and really got me. So again, also too, this is another thing too, where the I guess they do give a short briefing of what's happened in the previous issue. But
Okay, that's nice, Smiley.
This issue doesn't have anything to do with that though. This could be read standalone and have nothing to
Oh,
do with anything.
I see.
So it really doesn't matter that it had a what happened before, because nothing in it mattered. But anyway,
Okay. All right.
so they go to this like Savage World planet, and it's Thor, Sif, and then Tony Stark's son, Iron Lad.
Okay.
And they get to this planet, and then you see all these giant beasts and monsters and stuff, and it's like, okay, cool, they're gonna finally get to fight giant monsters. Yeah, it's good art. I didn't have any complaints
The art
about
in
the
this
art.
issue, from when you showed me, when you brought the issue to work to so I could look at it,
Mhm.
absolutely top of the line, creme de la creme, right? I
Right.
mean, the art, that's the one thing that I will say about modern comics, is that they still hire the best artists to draw these books, and that's always a good thing, because that's what sells. That's what always gets people to come back. It always gets new readers hooked, and so that's a good thing, at least. But the writers, the quality of writers, for the most part anyway, in my opinion, are not up there. They're not fit to work with some of these artists who deserve great writers to work with. But anyways, go on with your
So
commentary.
it starts off with you see this giant monster coming at this giant
Yeah, look at
lizard
that.
thing.
Beautiful.
And that's really cool.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, great. I wait to see what's gonna happen next. They're all like, talking about, okay, here's what we're gonna do, type of thing. We've had experience fighting giant serpents. We got this. And I'm like, all right, it's gonna be cool. Next page, and it's over. What? That's literally the
Yeah.
next page.
Yeah,
It
you
just
have
said,
who's this character again?
Sif.
Okay, Sith. We have Sith already on top. We already the death blow, I would imagine. Do you
An
have
arm's propped off.
the arms are cut off. There's a hole in this monster's chest or back, and his tongue is hanging out. He's dead. He's done. And yeah, it's like,
And
dude.
that's it.
And then this
And
guy
I'm
shows
like,
up.
yeah, so then I guess that's like their version of Hulk. And I'm like, okay, all right. Well, maybe they'll do this one. And it's like, okay. So yeah, they do a little bit of action. He catches the hammer, hits him. She does some strikes. Thor charges up. All right, death blow. This is gonna do it. And then stop. And then it's over. And then
Man.
and then she comes in and then does the lullaby to their version of Bruce Banner or something like that, and turns him back into a baby.
Oh, it's a baby.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I mean, that's a cool little twist. I'll give him credit for that one. I
I know,
was not
but
expecting that one, but okay.
still though.
Yeah, right.
And that's it. And then the rest of the issue is, I didn't take pictures of it, but the rest of the issue is just them on the island talking and explaining, the situation, and like,
Now, to be fair, that's okay. So in the second issue, the issue previous, was there any kind of action in that issue?
in the other
The
issue,
previous issue 2.
yes, there was some action, but it didn't. Again, but these issues now, I could be mistaken in the fact that I haven't read the other two books, with the Ultimates X-Men and the Ultimates Black Panther.
Also, it's all supposed to be connected.
Supposedly, because
Okay.
Iron Lad does make an appearance in the Spider-Man book, but it really doesn't. He doesn't really do anything in there. He just kind of shows up and then leaves. So I don't know whether or not he does the same thing in the other issues, but each one of the Ultimate issues are kind of all disjointed in that they don't have a singular story that follows through it. So, like I said, nothing in this issue pertains or has any relevance or anything to the previous issue
I see.
of Ultimates.
And this issue was $5. Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
$5.
$5 for a little teaser of action, and the rest is just like you said, talking heads. Just talk the rest of the issue.
Yeah.
You
know, and the thing is too, like you said, the art is great. I would have really liked to have seen the art. So then we get to the next issue, and this one's the one where I said that this could have been made into a movie if they wanted to.
Yeah,
I got this one because we read the first version of this, which was the Predator versus Wolverine,
and that was pretty good up until the end.
That was good up until the end, and that was because of art, and somewhat the storyline of it. I'm like, okay, well, I'll give this one a chance and see how this one goes. And then again, this is one of those things too where it's like you have like 15 artists working on a single issue, and they all do different sections of the book, and so it's really sort of disjointed. You have like that one does that pages.
Well, you have two. Wait, it's maybe Lee Ferguson is an inker. They don't really specify here, so maybe he's the inker for pages 24 to 30.
Yeah, but then you also have the color artist, Eric.
Yeah, who colored the whole book though?
They do all the book, or they just
I mean, I don't see anyone else listed here, so
okay.
it looks like it's 2 artists and then 2 inkers. At least that's my guess, because.
But wouldn't it be 3? Because it's Chris, Sean, and Lee.
Ooh, good question. I don't know. Wolf and Bear says, a minute later, now go to sleep, everyone. Mama's here to sing you a lullaby.
Yeah. I know, that's pretty much it. That's all it was. But anyway, so this issue, I picked it up, I flipped through it, and it looked good on the shelf, so I bought it. And also because of Benjamin Percy, which was one that I wanted to read.
Right.
And this issue is specifically this page. So much was happening in this one page that it was just so hard to follow, because there's like, not saying that the detail is bad in it. It's really
the detail
good.
is fantastic.
It's
Hold on, let me go to my specialist. Oli, if you're watching the show, take a look at this page and you let me know if you agree with Kyle's assessment here. If you're still watching, go ahead, Kyle. Finish it.
All right. So that in terms of the whole page and reading it, it's just too much going on. Like that's the whole page, and the dialogue that's running through it. They're basically giving the whole backstory of like, okay, yeah, these are 2 brothers, and they hate each other, and one of them is the preferred one, but by the king father, and the little one wants to show up the big one, and then they're talking about a spear, and so like then they're talking about that the king has a vibranium spear, and that's how that sort of ties into everything. But the vibranium spear that they're talking about is on the next page. When you're reading it on this first page, it's that little tiny little.
It's right here. Oh
right there.
I see it. Yeah, so they reveal the important spear, right? Yeah, and there it is. So yeah, the king had a weapon that never parted his side. And there
and it's like, you gotta get that microscope, magnifying glass out there. And it's
this should have been. Let me zoom out again. So yeah, you're right. This important line, this important, I guess, plot point, which is what is the ignition of the feud between the two brothers, right?
Yeah.
They want the spear, and then they have the cool close up of that's a cool kind of cool looking spear, and I mean, kind of.
Yeah. I mean, it's whatever. It's cool because, but yeah, like Benjamin said, yeah, Page looks too busy. Honestly, the two figures looked like they were layered on top of the background. Exactly. That was my thought. It's like literally, if you had just got rid of them, and you had more room dedicated to the actual story, I think it would have been a lot better.
Yeah, I think to put my editor's cap on, it looked like they were trying something here and it didn't work. I'm assuming either the editor was lazy or the editor was like, yeah, okay, this is fine. And it was just a creative choice that maybe it didn't work out because you're right. It's busy. And where do these two guys belong? Are they supposed to be the whole page, or are they supposed to be this in the second panel, like, or the third panel, because their feet are listed there or are placed there? But then you have this one here, and now
That's
you're
on the
wondering,
bottom.
okay, what's the deal here? And then what's going on here in this panel? Why is this panel even here? Maybe they
Yeah,
could have maybe kept this white right here, and then it probably would have popped a little bit more.
probably because that middle panel
Yeah, this
does
one here.
nothing.
Yeah,
There's
there's
literally
nothing.
nothing there.
Yeah, there's nothing there. So maybe that's what happened. It was just, it's too busy, like Ben says, and it kind of takes away. It takes you away from the experience, the reading experience, which is you don't want to have when you read a comic book or
Well, and
for that matter, consume any kind of storytelling medium, movies, TV shows, whatever.
and it's the same with the colorist too. I like, yeah, I mean, like it's just all the same color, even though it's really detailed. It's all very dark, and they all use sort of the same palette for everything.
Mm.
But it just makes it, and you'll see it in the next page. So if you keep on going, so he'll go through, and this page right here, it's like, yeah, this is looks like a really cool action scene, but I can't tell who's who and what's on what side.
Yeah, I see. There's a kick, right? This is a kick, right? Like,
I
yeah,
think,
this is a
yeah.
predator kicking another predator here. There's
But
one
then
in the
like,
foreground here, but you really can't. Yeah, it's.
and then like, what's that in the middle right there? Is that somebody's hair that's being blown? No, the
Oh
left.
no,
Left.
it's a
Oh, there's his
predator.
face. I didn't
Oh,
see that.
they're like fighting. They're like struggling. Looks like in the foreground
Again,
here.
and this is us zoomed in to the
Yeah,
panel as well.
Wolf and Bear right here. Great observation, Wolf and Bear. No contrast. There's got to be a layered contrast. So the foreground should be a little brighter, and the background should be a little lighter, so that way we can see the different layers. There's one right here. Look, there's one right here. Oh, one right there, and the one right here. But yeah, you're right. It's because we zoomed in. That's all you
Yeah,
can
we're
see it now.
zoomed in, whatever, how much percent.
To 400% now.
400%. And then we finally get to see what's actually going on. I mean, it looks cool, like in terms of the idea of it. Like, I'd love to see like a Predator Civil War type of thing. But, and then like is that like his head being blown off
It looks
right
like it.
there?
Yeah, it looks like it.
So,
Hold on, let me move it. There we go. Yeah, I think that's his head being blown off. I
by
don't know
what
by
though?
who
What's
though.
shooting him?
I don't know. I don't know. Hey, look, even Ben, like, there's no focus on this panel. Where should my island? I don't know.
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. But like the art is really good in terms of like the details and stuff, but it's just
Yeah,
like I can't understand it. I think this is, and it just keeps on going too. There's like, goes
was
through.
this part of a double page spread or no?
No,
No,
this is
okay.
just one page.
I see.
Now the next page, the next thing I'll want to get your opinion on, but yeah. So this next page right here. Tell me right now, do you think that this is a double page spread?
You asking me?
Yes,
Or are you asking the chat?
both.
Both. Yes, at first glance, when you brought this issue to work and you let me skim through it, I thought this was a 2-page spread at first glance.
Yeah,
I
it's
really
not.
did, but it's
This
not.
is just it's just in the middle of the book, and there's again so much stuff going on that I thought that this was a 2-page spread, and I literally couldn't. And then on top of that, just all of those little details of the little lines and triangles and
Yeah, it's kind of tangent-y, but not really tangent. It just kind of it's just that you're right. There's so much. It's so busy. It's like almost they crammed all the work, because right here you can see obviously the split.
right. But besides besides the art just arbitrarily cutting off, like right there, like right between that where
Yeah,
like
right
the
here.
world is and there,
This would be
how in the world are you supposed to tell that that's a difference?
on closer inspection, man. This is pretty great artwork.
Yeah, well,
This is
again,
pretty
that's what we're saying. Though.
fantastic.
It's
Yeah.
really good art.
Uh-huh.
It's just it's just so much. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of current Ethan Van Sciver, where
Oh,
it's
okay.
it's like very very detailed, very very um ornate, very uh focused, but there's just so much going
Yeah.
on.
There's so much going on, right?
And you
Right.
like we've been doing right now, we have
Yeah.
to zoom in 400% in order to get some of these details.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, honestly, I think this is the editor's fault. I think the editor should have caught this and told the colorist, hey, this is too busy. We need to separate the layouts, or even during the like Benjamin says here, that the artist is he's great at rendering, but he needs someone to do his layout. So at this point in the beginning stages or the layout stage, the editor should have probably caught this and be like, yeah, this is a bit too busy. Maybe we could change this up a little bit so that way the reader can follow it a little better. And now I also did notice the lettering makes it look like it's a 2-page spread.
yeah,
That's what I just caught right now.
because like how am I supposed to distinguish it?
Yeah. Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, again, it's like it's really good art, but then after you get all this super hyper detailed, very fine print stuff, and then it just cuts, and then you have the other artists come in, who's, I mean,
Yeah, very
very,
bare. Very bare.
yeah.
Yeah.
Look at, and then this is the famous panel that I was telling you about at work. Look, and then you
Yeah, this
look at
right
this
here.
ship, this panel spread right here. Oh man.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah,
you look,
at first I was like, oh, wait a minute, maybe that's just the way it's designed, or maybe that's the way, but it's not complete, it's not finished.
and then why is there a break in between?
Yeah, again, that could have been a creative choice. Maybe. I don't
Like you
know.
look at that ship and then you scroll up and you look, I mean, granted it's a different artist, but you look at that, this,
Yeah.
and then this is still the same issue. This is that towards the end of the issue.
Yeah, again, this right here, is there another, like, here's a better I guess quality. It looks better here. But yeah, this one compared is I get what the artist tried to do here. I think he was trying to convey the motion of the wings, kind of looking like the way a dragonfly, or I don't know. There you go.
Yeah. But it just doesn't work. And
I'm gonna
even
blame
those
the
look a little
editor. I'm
boxy.
gonna blame the editor for this one, because he should have caught this and maybe told the artist, hey, maybe we could add, beef this up a bit, because it does kind of look bare, if I'm being honest.
Blocky.
Yeah, because this one looks fine. This one's fine.
Yeah, that's okay. But
This one's fine too.
after but like just like zoom out a little bit of that last panel or last page, go up a little bit in the middle, like we're right there. So like you have that where these two these two panels right here where they're just outside the dome. It's like compared to the first, few pages of this where it's just like everything was going on, and then this
Right.
where it's just one ship and one dome thing. It's just now it's just too jarring where you have this, hyper
Right.
detailed versus very low detailed.
Yeah. I just don't understand why they can't just commit to one artist for these crossovers, like Dark Horse used to do back in the day when they had these crossovers, like the Superman Predator crossover or the Batman Predator crossover. They always picked, okay, we're going to pick this writer and we're going to pick this artist and they're going to do this storyline for this crossover.
Now it's like in terms of like that ship and stuff like that, or like what we're talking about with the layouts and stuff like that. Obviously, in terms of the first guy with his art, he's not lazy.
No,
He's
absolutely
like
not.
that's definitely
No,
not lazy in
no
terms of
way.
that. But
No way.
I think, and no, we're not talking about the laziness of the artist. I think we're talking about the laziness of the people directing the artist.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
Because the
the main
writing,
issue.
because Benjamin Percy is a good writer. Like he's the one of the new writers that I barely just started to read his work, and he's pretty good. He does his job well, and so I don't doubt that the story is good. I just wish they would just commit it to an artist who can help his story pop more. I mean, this is still fine. It's just that
Yeah.
you're right. It's very jarring to have these major contrast of styles and art styles and approaches.
I don't know, that ship and that panel that
Yeah,
that just killed it for me. I
Yeah.
saw when I flipped to this page, I legitimately thought that this was an advertisement for another children's book version of this.
Oh,
Like I had to
ouch.
actually like go back and
Ouch.
like, wait, this is still the story? Now,
Ouch.
I mean, like,
Well,
that
okay.
was
Well, how was the story on this issue?
the story itself is good. I actually like the premise of the story. If you want to know what the premise of the story is, like I was saying at the beginning, there's the two brothers.
Yeah.
The little brother wants to show up the big brother. They have that civil war. The big brother wins and then leaves the little one for dead. He escapes the planet, goes and finds where the father found that or that the vibranium to
Ah.
make the spear, and he wants to go get some of his own. He finds out that there's a big concentration on Earth, so he goes to Earth, and then when he gets to Earth, he sees Black Panther with his suit that can go around him. He says, "Oh, I need that suit so I can show up my brother and take up
Oh,
my
that's pretty
my."
cool. I like that. That's a
So
cool
so he's
premise. Yeah.
hunting Predator so that he could take that armor, vibranium armor, to go back to his home world and basically
You
take
mean he's
over.
hunting Black Panther?
He's hunting Black Panther.
Nice. That's pretty cool premise, actually.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like it's a cool premise.
Yeah.
And I am intrigued by it. It's just this art, man. It
It
doesn't know
takes
what
you-
it wants to be.
Yeah. Okay. Well, at least that this book has that going for it, because the Wolverine Predator storyline was also good. I enjoyed it, but yeah, the last issue, it just didn't land for me. I thought it ended in a whimper instead of an explosion.
Yeah, which I don't know how this is gonna go too. The ending of this story, like of the Predator.
Well,
I don't know how.
hopefully good. Hopefully
Yeah.
good. Now, what about now? Why do we have Moon Knight here?
So Moon Knight, in terms of the laziness that I noticed with this issue, was like, yes, everybody knows that Moon Knight's sort of like the Batman version for Marvel.
Right.
But this is another one of those instances where it has two storylines going at the same time, and the marketing, the promotion, the description of everything that I read about this issue was supposed to be about the Moon Knight mantle becoming basically the sort of like a Ghost Rider mantle, in which that there was Moon Knights throughout the centuries in different parts of the world and stuff like that.
Okay.
And they
Gotcha.
sold it as that there's going to be a Knights Templar Crusader that was a
Oh,
Moon Knight.
okay.
So I bought it specifically for that reason, to see that. Now, about more than half of the issue was about the current storyline that's going on with Moon Knight and a side story with that has nothing to do with the Crusader thing.
Ah, okay.
So when I started reading this, I'm like, oh, I didn't even get the story that I wanted, which was the Crusader story. I'm getting this story. And then this is a new Moon Knight. And basically, the whole story is just Batman beating up uh, Clayface and
Looks like
Scarecrow.
Clayface, yeah.
Yeah, except this guy's name is like something else. What's his name?
Says here Mark Spector.
That's Moon Knight,
Oh, you're talking
but
about
that's
this
not.
guy here,
Yeah, I know, but I'm trying to find his name.
Waxman. Waxman.
Waxman, is that what it says?
That's
Yeah,
the guy's
Waxman.
name. Waxman.
Waxman instead of Clayface.
Ah, gosh. Okay.
That's what I'm telling you about the lazy. This is the part where I was saying about laziness. This is literally just a Batman issue with a Moon Knight paint on it.
Oh, is that supposed to be Scarecrow here?
Yeah, except that's not Scarecrow. That is the Shroud.
The Shroud. Nice.
Or is it the Shroud? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm the Shroud no more. No. Is it? I don't know.
No.
I don't know.
Let's see. What is his name?
Oh, Digger. The guy with the shovel's called Digger.
As Digger, yeah.
And Tatterdemalion. Demalion? I don't even know how to pronounce that. Yikes.
Let's see.
Well, whatever the case, this is
I don't even
definitely
know what
obviously Batman, right? Oh gosh, there it is. There it is.
Yeah, see, literally,
There it
when I
is.
got to this page, is literally just Batman's origin. You literally have the exact same pose of Bruce Wayne's dead parents, and then he's trains with like this ancient culture of, martial arts experts, and then breaks off from them to then go and fight crime with a literally like almost like a Batman pose on the corner of the rooftop.
Wow.
If that's not just like almost blatant copyright off of Batman.
Wow. And I get it. I know Moon Knight is supposed to be Marvel's Batman, but there's got to be a twist, right? There's a supernatural element to his powers. I'm not too familiar with Moon Knight, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, Moon Knight. I mean, Moon Knight's more of like in theory, he's like Batman in terms of like he's rich and he basically just comes out at night and beats up the villains type of thing.
I see.
That's sort of more or less where the similarities end. But this takes it to a whole nother step.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that now. Wow.
So anyway, that was part of the laziness for that now, and it was just, again, if I wanted a Batman story, I'd buy Batman. Now,
right.
And plus, I bought this issue for the Crusader story,
right,
not for this.
So it looks like you were going to get it here because I see here 1200 England.
Yes, so that's
here they are. Here the Knights Templar right here.
Yeah, so this is the Crusader story, which is good. It's not the best in terms of like story. It's pretty basic, probably because they only had half a book to write stuff.
I see.
And so, he goes and he's like, okay, I'm not going to, follow the Crusaders because, I don't believe in their thing. And so then Moon Knight shows up, or not Moon Knight, but the Spirit shows up and says, hey, if you want a different purpose, I'm your guy. And he's like, no, you're not God. You're not, somebody that I could really follow. And so I don't want to do it. And then he's like, well, let me just show you what you could have. And so then he steps in and he's like, okay, it's like destined to be this way. You're supposed to be like, you're the prophecy chosen one type of person. And you're gonna defeat the monster bad guy at the end.
Oh, okay. This is I'm assuming it's Apocalypse because of the
Of the mouth and stuff,
yeah.
and it's Egypt. And I'm like,
Okay.
okay, that's cool. I mean, like, it looks cool. And then we get into, it shows, yeah, there he is, Apocalypse,
There's Apocalypse. Yep.
and he goes through and he tries fighting him. He's like, well, you're a bad guy, so I gotta fight you. And you know, Apocalypse knocks him aside, and then he's like, okay, I'll do it. And so
Ah,
then he becomes the Moon Knight. I'm like, that's cool suit up scene. He looks really cool. Starts getting all the glowy. And then I'm like, all right, cool, fight time. All right, couple of sword slashes, and it's over.
oh no. Oh man.
And that's it. And that's over.
Oh goodness. I was like, okay, cool. Here we go. Here we go.
Yeah.
And
Like,
oh,
even
it's
you
over.
worried
Oh.
about that. You're all like, yeah, I'm ready. Let's go. And it's over.
And this goes, and also this goes back to what I posted earlier on X about the lack of action. And I mean, these are the examples that Kyle caught. But I just skimmed through a few issues myself this past Wednesday, and I noticed the same thing. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm not picking this one up. And I'm not. I forgot the name. I already forgot the name of the books I picked up and checked out. So I don't even know what. I can't remember which books I picked up to check out because I want to try. I'm like you in the way, Kyle, where sometimes I do get that itch where I want to try new books out. I want to check them out. I want to see if I can get into some of these new books, and I just nothing catches my eye anymore.
I don't blame you. It's like
Benjamin says, to be fair, the writer was working with 10 pages, so that is fair. That is fair.
Right. Now that's fair. I give him that. But again, that's also goes into the laziness of whoever edited this book, in which we got half a Batman story first, and then we got the thing that they were trying to actually advertise.
Yeah, you're right. They should have committed to this whole story here. This whole issue.
This run, this Phases of Moon Knight thing, it's just 3 issues. It's just a mini series that's supposed to be dedicated for these sort of what if things. So that's what was the biggest thing about it, was because why am I getting this other storyline when the only thing that you're supposed to be telling me is this Crusader story, and I only get that for 10 pages, and that's it.
Right. Yeah.
So then why am I going to go and pick up the rest of the books? Am I going to only get half a story with those ones too?
Good point. Good point. And how much was this issue? Hold on, I think it's up here. Let me check.
It was $5. It
was $5 as well. Okay.
Yeah.
So
but
you spent the
Black Panther.
Yeah, $5 for this one. And the Black Panther, how much was the Black Panther one?
$6.
Oh, Black Panther was $6.
Black Panther. It's got that 20th Century Fox Marvel tax.
That's right. So you spent $16. Well, with the taxes, 17, close to $20 for 3 books, and laziness on all 3.
Yeah, in terms of so $18 I get with the Ultimates, no action, just talking. Right. With Predator, I get good art, but I can't tell what it is, and then really bad art at the end.
Right.
And then Moon Knight, I get half a story of Batman, and then the other half of the book that I actually want to read.
Gosh.
So all in all, I get.
And you know what else too? The artwork is good in all 3 books, with the exception of the second half of the Black Panther Predator story. But
I didn't mind the art in either one of these parts, either the Batman story, the faux Batman story.
Yeah, this artwork is good too.
Crusader.
Who's the artist for this one? I want to know.
The Crusader one?
Rod Rice. Or Reese.
Rod Rice.
Nice.
It fit the story. The Crusader one's artist fit the story, and I really enjoyed it.
Dang.
But I only got half a story. So
yeah. Right.
And then the next issue isn't even going to continue this story. It's going to be the next version of the Ghost Rider-esque type of thing. They're going to, I think the next one, I don't know what the next one's going to be. It looks like maybe it's like the 1800s type of thing. Like maybe like that type of era, and then the last issue is gonna be like a Japanese type manga Moon Knight version.
Cashing in on that manga craze.
Yeah. And
You know
then
what?
I think
This artwork reminds me a lot of an artist. I don't know if you know who he is. I'm sure the chat will know. Phil Noto. Have you heard of his stuff? Phil
No.
Noto, I think that's his name. I'm getting the same vibes from this artist from this David Reese was his name, right?
David Reese.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rod Reese.
Rod Reese. Yeah. Rod Reese. Thank you. Yeah, good stuff though. This artwork, I really dig this artwork. It's really good.
Yeah.
But
I
dang.
had no problem with that.
But yeah, that's
half the story. And
yeah,
and,
that's
you know,
unfortunate.
this is 3 issues that I picked up, and who knows how many more issues are like this out there that I didn't pick up.
Right.
And specifically also with the Ultimates, the next issue of the Ultimates did come out, and I flipped through it, and it was the same thing. Just talking. No action.
Yeah, Ben knows. Noto. Phil Noto.
Noto.
Or Nato. I apologies, Phil, if you ever do come across this video for butchering your name.
But this one irked me the most.
I would imagine, dude, because if you think of Ultimates, right? The Ultimates, or in the Avengers, in the Avengers book, yeah, you have the key legacy characters all in one book, right? Captain America, Thor, Hawkeye, Black Widow. But I mean, the Ultimates might be a little different because of the Ultimate Universe. But even then, it still should be a book. Again, not chock full of action, but something where, yeah, you get something to chew on. You know, something. I get talking heads, like that's fine. That doesn't bother me, but you got to have a fine balance of that. And I feel like in the tweet I posted, I did write how nothing really caught my eye. And so I went to the back bins and I bought a few Frank Miller Daredevil that they have, because they just recently bought a collection, the shop that I go to. And so they have a few of the Frank Miller Daredevil single issues there. Not the key issues, right? The ones that everyone, hunts for.
like
but
like Death of Electra and stuff.
Yeah,
like
exactly. Those are gone. Those were probably there at one point, but someone came along, found them, and picked them up, snatched them up. But there are other issues that he wrote and drew, and also picked up a few Captain America issues, because that and for I guess for pretext purposes, I understand it was a different time, right? Late 80s, early 90s were a different time than today. There's no social media. There's no YouTube. It was TV, cable TV, and movies, radio, and that's it. And then, of course, comics. So comic books were a bit more chock full of
starting out with video games.
And video games were about to blow up because of Nintendo. And then sure enough, in the 90s, Super Nintendo came out, and Sega and all that stuff. And that caused a big like shake up, right, of gaining the attention of kids and young people, right? So I picked up a few Captain America issues, and I went home and I read them, and I read one that really stuck out to me because I thought it was very well done. And this was back in the days when comic books used to cost $1. Wow. So and it's
Can we go back to that?
Yeah, it was. I know, right? It was this issue of Captain America, issue 371, written by Mark Grunwald and drawn by Ron Lim. And the cover itself was, when I was looking through the back bin, I saw the cover and I was like, "Oh, this is pretty cool.
It's different."
And not just different. It's intriguing because now I want to see what's going to happen. Oh, because the subline, the sub headline is, "Nothing can prevent Cap and Diamondback from having a pleasant night on the town," and there's all these suspicious people in the shadows ready to pounce on our hero and his date, Diamondback.
Yeah, and then at the bottom says, "Oh yeah,
oh yeah." So, I picked up this issue and I read it, and the issue is a very again, we talked about talking heads, very talking heads issue, but there's a lot going on in the background. Again, what Benjamin mentioned earlier, a B and C story alongside the A story, with the A story being the date between Captain America, Steve Rogers, and Diamondback. And so the premise of this issue is that Diamondback and Captain America finished up beating up some bad guys from the previous issue, and they're having a discussion, and she asked him out on a date. And of course he's like, no, I don't have time for a girlfriend or whatever. And she goes, no, I don't want a relationship. I just want to go out, on a date just to have fun, because we can't keep doing superhero work and have
every
no
single
fun.
day.
Yeah, you're gonna burn out. And so Captain America was
all
like,
work
okay.
and no play makes Jack a dull boy.
Exactly. And so Captain America was like, okay, you know what? You're right. And so he decides, I'm gonna do this. So he goes back to the Avengers mansion, and he asks Jarvis, hey, can you get me a tailor to get some new clothes, because I got a date tonight? And a few Avengers members overhear him, and they're like, what, Cap, you're going on a date? Wow.
Wow, good for
And then
you.
at the same time, Diamondback, who's part of the Serpent Society, she calls her friend and says, I got a date with the cute guy. Please help me out. I need help to look the best I can. And so her friend comes over, helps her out, and dual scenes are happening in the issue between Captain America getting him getting dressed and her getting ready. And then he shows up to her house to pick her up, and they go on the date. And the whole time, Diamondback is worried that that there's going to be trouble. They're going to come across trouble, and Captain America's going to leave their date to save the day, like Captain America should. And so Diamondback's friend goes out of her way. This is the B story going on, to find out who this mystery man is, because she doesn't know it's Captain America, and at the same time make sure that nothing wrong happens to her friends, and if any trouble came about, she took care of it for her, so that way she could have her date with Cap. And that's the whole issue. The whole issue is just them going out, dinner, and then going out over here for a stand-up act or a magic act. And she and Diamondback's friend is making sure that any trouble that goes up, she takes care of it. Boom, like in secret, covertly. And then at the end, she finds out who he is and reminds her, hey, you're part of the Serpent Society. You're like part of the bad guys. You're a mercenary. Are you sure you want to go straight? Because have you thought about what that means? Going straight? And because the date goes well, obviously they end up, having a nice ending kiss for the date. And she starts, like, oh my God, I can't, I really want this to work out. And her friend reminds her of who she was, or who she is, I mean. And she has this great moment at the end where she's like, yeah, like, what am I going to do? And it was a very cool issue, because if I were a first time reader, this would have hooked me to pick up the next issue. And on top of that, it would have wanted me to pick up the previous issues, because now I want to know how they met and how it came about. And who is this Serpent Society? And why is she going on a date with Cap? Is it going to create conflict? Now I'm interested. Now I want to know all this stuff. And that's how comic books should be. And it's not like that anymore.
No.
And again, for $1, I got a great story, not a memorable one, but a fun one. One that I was like, hey, this is pretty good. This is pretty funny. Because there's a funny scene that I liked where he picks her up and he's like, Cap is like struck. He's like, whoa, you look amazing. And he says a stupid line to her. And Mark Grunwald, it's supposed to be a joke. And Mark Grunwald, he was famous for writing inner thoughts, inner bubble thoughts, not narration boxes. And I love the fact that he says, oh, nice one, Cap. Very smooth, Cap. Really smooth with that line. And it was great because it humanized him. I was able to identify with that, because I was like, yeah, I've done that a few times in my life where I was, went on a date and then I said something stupid. I'm like, oh, great. Why did I say that?
Real genius move you did right there.
Right. Did I just ruin the date? Damn.
Yeah.
But this also stayed true to the comic book superhero, because we want our hero to have a good time, but yet danger always looms. And that's what this cover really encapsulates. Yeah. So I thought
Is
that
it?
was great. And again, to compare, this is where this you can really see that Mark Grunwald, Ron Lim, and that also includes the letterer, the colorist, the inker, and also the editor of this book. They put a lot of care and thought into this one issue,
Mhm.
chock full of great stuff that you could enjoy.
And then on top of that, you know, as we mentioned before, where this is a breather issue, like a
Yes,
dedicated breather issue between two other storylines, like
that's
major
right.
storylines, not like major in the fact that like everybody knows about the storylines and stuff
Right.
like that, but it's storylines that are good nonetheless.
Yeah, yeah. I
And
forgot to mention that. Thank you for reminding me. But yeah, that issue was the breather issue because the what comes after is a storyline called Streets of Poison, I believe it was called. I forgot the top of my head, but it's a 6 issue storyline, and then before that, it was a storyline where Crossbones was first introduced into the lore, into the Marvel lore.
so
So they
semi
had
semi big ish.
oh yeah, of course,
Yeah.
Crossbones is a pretty cool villain. A good Captain America villain, and so that was at the far end, at the tail end of I think it was a 6 issue series storyline of Crossbones being introduced and then causing all kinds of havoc for Captain America. And so this date issue was all talking heads, but again, it was still good. You were still entertained. You were still um, captured, right?
Right.
By the hook, you were still hooked to want to read the next issue because now I have the other issues. I haven't read them yet, but now I want to know more about what happens next.
Well, and it's just like you were just saying that it's in between two already dedicated storylines, and then you have the breather issue that's just one issue, but even in the breather issue there's still stuff going on.
Yes,
The
yes.
biggest comparison that I can make was with the Ultimate Spider-Man run by Jonathan Hickman, where you had a really good first few issues that really built it up, and then you have like I think it was issue 4, I believe, where it was just all talking heads, like I think we mentioned on the show, where it was just Peter and MJ and
It was a dinner
Gwen
scene, right?
Stacy. Is the dinner, and that's the entire issue was just them sitting talking at dinner, and that was the entire issue. There was no action, no nothing, and this was just 4 issues into the brand new storyline, and so they just put a pause on everything else.
Was there any significant action before then?
This was the it was
The
the
first
first
3 issues?
the first 3 issues. The third issue was the issue where like it really ramped up because you had Goblin
Okay,
and Spider-Man beat up their version of Bullseye, and they were
okay.
teaming up together. And then at the end of that issue, Spider-Man and Goblin both revealed their identities to each other, and they found out that the one was Osborn and Peter.
Gotcha, gotcha. That's pretty cool. That sounds good. But
Yeah,
was it like a
and then it
significant action scene though, or
in that issue,
yeah,
or which issue?
yeah, third issue, third issue.
The third issue? Yeah, that was them fighting
Okay.
Bullseye.
Well, I guess I could forgive the dinner scene. Is what I'm trying to say.
But the
Or would you
entire
prefer?
issue,
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, there's. I guess yeah. I guess you have a point there because in the Captain America issue I just talked about, they go to different places and they come across different trouble
yeah,
as they go to
no,
different places. So it was
it's
none of
just
that happened.
it was just them in that same restaurant the entire issue talking.
I see. So there's no tension, in other words, because that
No,
Captain American issue at least had tension where you're like, oh, dude, is it? Is he gonna leave his date now? Because this villain that they came across is like beating up on some women, and Captain America's gonna intervene, but yet it gets taken care of before he gets there. This is
yeah,
what
no,
happens in the middle of the
none of
issue.
that.
None of that. Gotcha. Damn, that sucks, dude.
Yeah. But and then we were talking about this. There was another Captain America issue, yeah, that you wanted to talk about. Go ahead. You want to talk about that one?
Yeah. So of course, this is a famous cover, right? And I snatched it up because they had it at the shop, and I said, you know what? I'm not gonna wait on this one. I'm gonna pay what they want, and I paid it because
It's a rad cover.
It's an issue I've always wanted and I never could get because every time I came across it, it was always behind the counter on the wall, double, triple the price of the cover price.
Yeah.
So I never was able to get my hands on it. And so finally at the back bin, I saw it and I was like, whoa, it's an affordable price. It wasn't behind the wall, right? And double, triple the price. So I snatched it up and at first I was just gonna keep it because of course the cover is fantastic. I mean, Captain America shooting up the Uzi. I mean, what more can you ask for? But I decided to read it, and I was really impressed with this issue because this issue there's a scene in the beginning where what's Flag Smasher? What's the character?
Flag Smasher.
Yeah, Flag Smasher hijacks an airline plane. And the way he does it is pretty rad too.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty badass how he does it.
It's kind of like James Bond type of
like
Mission Impossible.
No, it reminded me of Bane in the Dark Knight.
Oh yeah,
Rises. It reminded me of that, but cooler because it's in the comic books you could do a lot more. So he hijacks the airline plane, takes the passengers as hostage, and he gives a message to the government saying, "I want Captain America to meet me to release the hostages, or I want to kill him. I want to publicly execute him." That's what he wants. And then we cut to a suburban neighborhood somewhere in New York, and Captain America's having dinner with his number one fan, the president of his fan club, and his mother. And it's a cool scene. It's a very wholesome scene. Yeah, they're having dinner. The son runs upstairs to grab some stuff for him to like look at and sign. And the mom flirts with Captain America and pretty much like offers herself to him, pretty much throws herself at him. And of course, he's kind of like at first like, wait, is she like coming on to me? And he doesn't really know.
Yeah, he's too genuine.
Yeah. And then of course the boy comes back and tells Cap that he just heard that there's been a plane hijack, and he's needed, and so he takes off. And the rest of the issue is him hunting down Flag Smasher, and he actually succeeds. He infiltrates the group, beats someone up, puts on their outfit, infiltrates the gang. And then the reason why, and this is the significance of the cover, is that he's doing it without hurting anybody. He's just knocking them out like in true Captain America fashion.
And he's talking a bit himself while doing it. He's like, okay, I gotta make sure I throw the shield right so it bounces and just knocks them out,
because he doesn't want he's afraid that if they find out he's there, they're just going to kill the passengers, which is exactly, that's exactly what was going to happen. And so as he's getting closer and closer, he almost gets there, but they find him out, and one of the Flag Smasher guys just decides, nope, I'm just going to start spraying everybody. And Cap grabs one loose gun and he sprays the guy before he can massacre the passengers. And he has a moment where he realizes this is the first time he's ever shot a gun since the war.
Yeah. And
I thought it was a great, brilliant issue, because it had, again, for 75 cents at the time, it had a great intro, like a 4-page action intro, a nice talking head scene between, his number one fan, his mother, and and himself, and then a suspense thriller in like the next like 4 or 5 pages, and then action again. And then at the end, you get the whole, like, there's a great moment where he takes the corpse that he killed into the plane, and one of the passengers that, you really gonna give this guy a proper, like burial or whatever, and show respect, even though he tried to kill him, he tried to kill us, and he just said he's still alive, he's still still a person. And that was a great, like,
I think that was in the next issue, that was the following issue. I think it ended with him just after he shot him.
Oh, you're right.
And that was the cliffhanger.
Yeah, you're right. But still a great character wrinkle, and not just a wrinkle, but reminding the reader, even though Cap sprayed this guy, right? He straight up just sprayed him. He still showcases compassion for his fellow human being, even though he fell by the gun. And I thought that was a great piece of work. And now I understood the significance of why this cover was so significant to not just collectors but also fans of Captain America, the comic book series. And again, it's one of those instances again where they don't make him like this anymore, because although this is a rad cover, there's a reason why Mike Zeck decided to draw it this way.
Yeah, it actually pertains to the story that's
Yeah,
it's
right.
cover.
So
And
it was again, I don't know how many pages it was. I think it was 28 pages total. And for 75 cents, I mean, talk about giving you everything possible within those 28 pages.
now looking at that story from like the modern perspective and like seeing how that story would play out in modern comic books now, that would probably be a 4 or 5 issue miniseries. Just that one issue would be its own miniseries.
Probably, you might be right.
You'd have
And
one
then,
whole issue dedicated to the robbery of the hijacking of the plane.
yeah, yeah.
The next issue of the talking head with the mom and the kid. The next issue of him infiltrating the base, and then the final issue of
him
him.
killing him killing the bad guy and using the gun for the first time since World War II.
Yeah.
Wow, you're right, dude. You're right.
And then, possibly they'll have a Batman story, but not Batman story in the front of the book too.
But yeah, again, I think it's just a matter of care. I'm not saying that modern comic book writers and artists don't care. Obviously, they care because they're there. They got hired. They're doing the work. They're getting paid to do it. So obviously, they care enough to want to work for Marvel or DC. But the question is, how much do they care? Because the fact that there's no action, there's a ton of action in this issue, but just Mark Gruenwald did not hold back on the action. And so that leads me to wonder, is it editorial that's telling the writers to cut back on the action? Or is it the writers who are like, no, I don't want to do action. That's just something, going back to the Rod Serling clip I played in the beginning of the show. I'm going to write whatever I want to write. And if they don't like it, then hell with them. I'm going to do what I want. When in reality, it's like, well, it's art, art is, you're expressing yourself and you're sharing it with the world, and you want an emotional reaction to what you put out. And that's the reason why so much great material, memorable or otherwise, stands the test of time, is because there's a lot of things that we can connect with as human beings, right? This connected with me because, yeah, like that would be terrible to have to pick up a gun and kill someone to save the collective, right? Because the bad guy was able to still, I think, hurt 2 people as he was about to massacre everyone, and Captain America cut him off.
Yeah, because he said that it'd take too long for me to go and get my, because
yes,
he had his shield knocked out of him,
right,
and the only thing next to him was the gun.
and so he picked it up and didn't think twice and did it. And it was a great moment of like to remind the reader that even though he did that, he's still Captain America, right? He's still the human being behind the super soldier.
And not only that, but specifically with this storyline, the villain is Flag Smasher and then his goon and stuff like that. But the main thing that was getting at with this story was challenging Captain America's ideals.
Yes.
Of like, will he actually go the distance in terms of crossing that line? And what would that look like? What if, Cap had no other option and this was the only option? Would he do it? And why would he do it? What would be like the situation that needs to happen for that to do it? And I think it really plays into the story because, we all know Captain America. He's like, yeah, not hurt a single soul. He's the shield. He protects people. But when you take that shield away from him, then what's going to happen?
Right. Yeah. Well, how far are you going? And this issue really does explore that. And again, in one issue.
In one single issue.
In one single issue. And then when you close it and you end it, because I'll admit, this issue really did do something that hasn't been done in a long time. And that is me sit down and ponder and go, wow, that was, and then think about, and then actually thinking about like the actions that he took, and wondering like, yeah, wow, that's the talk about challenging the ideal, right? The Captain America ideal. And yeah, not many comics these days do that for me, with the exception of I think the only exception that for this past year, 2024, that shows the amount of care and also how good of a story and presentation was Blooderick from Image
Oh
Comics.
yeah.
Blooderick was one of those books where I was like, dude, now this is what's missing in American comics. Originality, emotion. I mean, you feel the guy, like in the second issue, there's the cover of him bloodied up and there's a mountain ahead of him. I mean, that like, just that image alone was enough for me to be like, I need to read what happens here, because this is, what is this? This is fantastic. And then at the end of the third issue, I thought to myself for a second, wow, he'd do a cool killer Conan
Oh yeah.
if given the chance. But then I immediately stopped myself. No, screw that. More Blooderick. I want more Blooderick. I want
Right.
more of this world. I know what Conan offers. Okay, cool. You know, I'm not opposed to that, but I want this guy to do Blooderick, because I feel the emotion behind his work. Like I feel the character. I can identify with the character, and the story moves. And so thankfully he's doing more. I just wish it wasn't 3 issues. I wish it was like 5 or 6.
Right.
You know?
That's another issue. That's another problem we have with modern comic books too, where, you know, they, like we've mentioned before, everything's only just 3 or 4 issues and then
Yeah.
it's over.
Yeah. There's no more runs. I wish they had runs. I wish we had runs still, so that way we can,
You know, I keep pushing
right now, like what we're doing right now, talk about the issue and talk about what it offered, and
yeah.
you know,
This is like number 321 or something like that.
321, issue 321. Yeah.
Yeah.
Benjamin says I think modern comics storytelling is geared towards writing TV shows. Yep, that's exactly right. I'm guilty of this myself. It's just so saturated into our culture. It's hard to dodge its influence. I agree. Ben. That's why we have to push ourselves. I find myself doing the same thing too. And so that's why I have to remind myself, okay, no. I'm not writing for TV. I'm writing for comics.
Yeah.
How can I push the artists that I'm working with to do more comic book centric storytelling? How can I convince the artist to like, no, don't give me just straight, you know, widescreen panels. Give me some insert panels here. Let's experiment with the medium. Let's try things out. Let's have fun here. Like I don't want this to be a TV show. I want this to be a comic book. And so I have to constantly remind myself of that, because I'm a student of, I'm a child of TV. I grew up in the 90s. The 90s was all about cable television. And if you had it, then you were exposed to 100 plus channels of material, you know, of content. And back then that was like, whoa, you have cable? You're like, wow,
you're rich.
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Ben. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you're not haven't subscribed yet. And this is what we do. We like talking comic books, and we try to do it constructively. We try to point out things constructively. We don't do it, you know, with ill will. We don't hate on the creators. It's just like, again, going back to the Rod Serling video, when you put your art out there, you're sharing it. People are going to see it. People are going to talk about it, and they're either going to have a negative outlook on it or they're going to have a positive outlook on it. But we should always have a discussion. I kind of liken this channel to the old letters page of the old comic books. There was that issue I told you about that we just talked about, not this one, but the previous Captain America issue, the one where he goes on the date. Yeah. I actually read the letters page, and there was one letter where the guy disparaged the writer.
Oh, really?
For not keeping Captain America intact. He told him that he accused him of changing the character. Like he pretty much like called him a. Hold on, let me see. I have it right here. I have the issue right here. Bear with me, guys. And I was like, dude, they've actually printed this letter. That's pretty bold.
Yeah, you wouldn't see that now. You don't see any modern comic book artists acknowledge or even post their negative feedback that they have gotten.
Okay, here we go. So this is from Jeffrey, a man named Jeffrey Des Rosiers from Michigan, Dearborn Heights, Michigan. I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but I'm gonna start from here. As I grew older, my appreciation for the character and concepts he represents matured accordingly, so that now at age 22, I feel confident in saying that your development of Cap is way off base.
Wow.
Yeah, very, like I said, just very bold. I lost my place here. Way off base, and I am not speaking from a fundamentalist viewpoint either. I have thoroughly enjoyed several totally distinct portrayals of the living legend, the simplistic but amusingly charming Golden Age stories, the fast-paced Tales of Suspense run, the socially relevant Englehart issues, the fun and colorful Kirby stories of the late 70s, the masterfully traditional yet utterly contemporary Stern Byrne issues, and finally the sensitive, thought-provoking Captain America done by J.M. DeMatteis, Zek, and Neary. But what about your stories, Mr. Grunwald? How do you characterize them? What I expect from a writer and the stories he produces for a book is consequence. What's at stake for the character? How will the story change him? How does the character's canon change as a consequence? These questions, I feel, are not being addressed by you. The recent Bloodstone hunt is a prime example of this. What's the point of the story other than to get the numbering up on the book? It's not even an entertaining, clever story. You seem more comfortable with rehashing old run-of-the-mill plot devices than with thinking out a storyline in which the good captain is challenged by moral, emotional decisions. And please don't tell me that your Walker as Captain America, in quotes, story did just that. Believe me, it didn't. I know this because I read the same story back when Englehart was on the book and Cap learned his lesson back then. Is your Cap suffering from a loss of memory? Are you? The worst thing a character can do is make the same mistakes over and over. Are you saying then that Cap isn't better than that?
Wow. Man, he just went in on and on.
Dude. Again, Marvel printed the letter. They printed it in the end of the issue. And the editor answered him, but it's a long letter. I don't want to bore you with the whole letter, but I just thought, like, wow, like, he didn't insult him per se. I mean, I don't take it as that. I just take it as critiquing his work because he's read so much iterations of Captain America that he felt a need to, I guess, speak his mind. But yeah, it was very, I guess, bold to say the least.
That's an understatement.
Call your channel No Price Comics. Who wants to bet the editor wrote that under a pen name to jab his writer on the down? You know what, dude? I wouldn't put it past their Halloweener. I wouldn't put it past him. But yeah, I was like, whoa, ouch. But Mark Grunwald kept writing Captain America until the mid 90s. So he kept on going. He didn't bother him. But that's how I want this channel to be like. Not like this harsh, but hey, we bought the book. We have a right to critique it and talk about it and like say, hey, this isn't working. Like this is something that should be fixed. Or if you don't want to fix it, then we'll stop buying your book. Like this simple as that. Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like I've dropped most of these issues. Like I'm not really picking up the Ultimates anymore. I might check out the Moon Knight one and see if they actually get the story that I paid for. And, with Black Panther versus Predator, I'll probably see it through to the end. But it's just like one of those things where it's like, I love the art, the first part of the art, but it's just so much going on. It's hard to see, and there's other titles too that, we didn't go over that were from other publishers and stuff, but they're for various other reasons.
Right.
But it's just surprising to me the amount of, like I said, this is just a few of examples that I had come across, and it's not the first time either. It's just gotten to the point where it seems like, man, a lot of books that I'm reading are like this. And I'm like, that's the whole point of the reason why I brought up. I'm like, are they just lazy? Are they just
Right.
not trying hard enough? Are they not paid well enough? Are they not, are they
Are they phoning it
don't
in? Are
care?
they is the editorial telling them to do it this way? And that
Because
there's many factors, you're right, at play that could be at play when it comes down to writing stories that are subpar for the most part.
yeah, and it's like and like I tried to give examples where it's not like, okay, it's just the art that's bad, or it's just the writing that's bad, or it's just the editing that's bad. It's like
Right.
no, it's like every person, different steps. Like yeah, the art could be good, but the editor was, not so great, or the art may not be so great, but the writing made up for it,
Right. Right.
and so, but still it only works if everybody's running on the same
Right.
level,
Yeah. Yeah.
and running on the
Absolutely.
same train.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's unfortunate because we're outsiders looking in, so we really don't. We'll never know other than the end product. That's the only clue we have. Is the end product when we pick up the issue and we look through it and we go like, "What is this? Why is this way?" And that's the only clue we have as to what may be happening behind those closed doors behind Marvel and DC. DC, from what I hear, is kind of on shaky legs right now. Marvel is still doing pretty good from what I read. They're still consistent, but the absolute stuff that DC is introducing, I heard that if that fails, it's kind of it's kind of like the end for DC Comics at that point, from what I hear. I
is
hope
it?
not.
Is it? Is it? I don't think so because they just revitalized all the Elseworld stuff, so they're probably gonna bank a lot more on that.
Maybe.
Um,
Yeah.
the because I've been reading the Elseworlds, the one that's the all winter one, that's the one with Deathstroke being a Viking type of person.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It sounds kind of whatever. I dropped that one.
Okay.
But the Gotham by Gaslight one that they brought back, that one's really good. I do
Okay.
recommend you go and check that one out.
Okay. All right. That's good
Because
to
it's
know.
an interesting time period. They did the story back, back then, and now they're doing the new story and basically bringing all the other characters in that sort of 1800 style
Yeah.
now, and it's working. It's really good. So I do recommend that.
Okay. Cool.
Um,
Cool.
I
Good to
have
know.
been reading the Green Lantern new versions of the DC stuff, and there's tie-ins with the Absolute Power stuff. Some of it's okay. Some of it, like I think I understand a little bit of the story of the Absolute Power. It's not really that interesting. It's just
Mm.
basically like, you know, it's a lot of member berries. I want to say, especially in the Green Lantern book that I read, because I guess I don't know the whole story. I only know it from the Green Lantern story,
Right.
but it seems like Waller is like gathering up all of the famous and powerful artifacts that every superhero uses, and they're going to use it to make and absorb, not absorbo, but uh the one that the robot that can copycat everybody's power type of thing.
Oh gosh, I can't remember the name now.
Not super adaptoid, but no, Mazo.
I think it's
Is it
Amazo. I think it's Amazo, yeah.
Amazo? Basically, just going to have him download, steal all the powers of everybody, so that he's basically the ultimate Amazo, and that Waller controls him,
Hmm.
so that then she'll have absolute power, I guess, is what it's
Ah,
supposed to be.
I see.
And so because of that, some of the superheroes are lost their powers, and so they have to use the other superheroes' weapons and stuff like that to try to
Hmm.
get around it.
That sounds like a pretty cool premise.
Yeah. So I haven't really read it. Again, it really didn't interest me.
Okay.
So
Well, I mean, I know we're running low on time because we just lost ourselves with the discussion of
yeah.
of laziness in comic books and modern comics. But let's do a quick. Let's see if we could do this quickly. This is a comic book that you enjoyed.
Yes.
Now,
This is actually. Go ahead.
no, I was gonna say this is a comic book that you feel put a lot of care because Benjamin mentioned Flash Gordon. So it was like, you know what? I was gonna
Oh.
like cut it. I was gonna cut the segment, but I was like, well, since
Oh,
he brought it
really?
up and he
Yeah,
enjoyed it,
that's really
I
funny
want to
that you
hear.
mentioned
Yeah,
that.
I want to hear. I want to hear your thoughts on this because you did mention to me you like this story, and I know that Flash Gordon, for those who don't know, is an old pulp hero, a bit before, a lot before my time, and I know he's remembered fondly by the generation before me. I'm from the generation of Star Wars, so I didn't really care for Flash Gordon. I was like, just give me Star Wars. Like, I'm fine with Star Wars. I could do without Flash Gordon. But I know it's a very popular character. And I know that was it Dynamite? Is it Dynamite that
No, this is
Mad
Mad
Cave.
Cave.
So Mad Cave got the licensing for this character and they revamped it, which is something that I always feel licensed properties like this should always do when they get licensed out to comics. So they just give us something fresh, give us something
Yeah,
unique.
just
You know, don't
something.
go back. Yeah, don't go back to. Let's keep it original. Let's okay. Let's keep the original elements, but let's put it in a modern take and let's just see what we can do with it. And I like
Especially
that.
with especially with a like you said, like a property or a license or something like that. That's like it's known. People
Right,
know of Flash Gordon, but it's not like not everybody's not talking about Flash Gordon every single day of the week, you know?
right, right,
It's like one of those things that's like, yeah, it's there. People know about it, but it's kind of like the same with like Zorro or
right.
like,
It's
things
not.
like
It's not the
that.
level of like say Lord of the Rings, where everyone still talks about
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings. You know, even though it's not a pulp comic, but you get the idea.
But, specifically, yeah, because I was in Texas, and I was at a comic shop out there, and I saw the book, and I'm like, "Oh, Flash Gordon. I know that name. That looks cool." And I flipped through it, and I'm like, "Hey, this doesn't look that bad."
It's a great cover too. I really do. I really dig the cover.
Yeah, even though, like you said, even though you hate posing,
Yeah,
it's it's a
right.
lot of
But
posing.
for Flash Gordon, it's a first issue and it's Flash Gordon, so I forgive it.
Yeah. Well,
I
you can
forgive it.
see. I'll show you. I didn't take a picture of it, but you'll see the what issue 2 looks like, and it
Wow,
actually
look at all
shows
these
him actually
variant
like
covers.
doing something.
Jeez.
Yeah. So there's a lot of I mean, it's modern comic books. What do you expect? But
Yeah, right.
um,
Ooh, I like this guy here.
yeah. So we open up with Flash Gordon. We open up with this robot that says,
Hold
"Yeah,
on, hold on. By the way, guys, this is officially is it
oh
worth the
yeah."
pickup? I didn't do the intro. I didn't
I know.
because
I was gonna say
like I
you
said,
jumped right into it.
I know we're low on time, so I wanted to just I want him to get his review in because usually we dedicate when we hit the top of the hour, we dedicate the is it worth the pickup for the second hour. But since we went over the second hour due to our conversation, I decided, okay, let's just go right into it, jump in. So I just wanted to let you guys know that. Hey, what's
Yes.
up, Freddie?
Hey, how's it going?
Better late than never, homeboy.
Yeah. But we just started is it worth the pickup? Like he said, it's our segment that we do of new and we and indie type books that are new that came out and we review it not with the intention of just saying, "Oh, that's bad" or "That's good,"
Right.
and because it's bad and because it's good. We review it just because we want to see how things could be improved upon, what we like about the stories, and specifically what we like about the stories.
Yeah.
And we give our takes, me as a new comic book reader and him as a seasoned comic book reader. That's the short version. So
Yeah.
basically, this story really did interest me. So I have no history of knowing uh, Flash Gordon.
Shut up, Ben.
So I have no history of Flash Gordon, like we mentioned. I know of Flash Gordon, but I don't know anything about Flash Gordon, like his history or who he is or this like the world, the universe that he's in.
Got it.
This is my first introduction to Flash Gordon. And as I'll have to say, as a first introduction to Flash Gordon, it makes me want to go and watch Flash Gordon and read
Oh, okay.
and
Very
read stuff
nice.
about it.
Very
Like it
nice.
actually did make me like this world. It's a pretty simple story. It's not like it's like breaking ground on anything, but
Right.
it's good enough and it's really put together well. So it starts off with Flash Gordon. He's trapped and he's captured on this like bed and it's like, okay, and he's with the beard and the hair. It's like, okay, he's been there a while. It does a flashback of showing, okay, well, it's like he's talking to himself. It's like, well, how did we get here? Type of situation. And
I really
it's
love
like
this page. The paneling on this page is pretty on point. I love
yeah,
it.
because it's all a flashback. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
telling you
I just love the
you know,
Dutch tilt, and I love the insert panels here, and then and it leads to the last panel here, the last borderless panel. Well done.
yeah.
Very well done.
Yeah. So it was really easy to read. The dialogue flowed very well. Basically, this new prisoner comes in and, he's all like, well, where am I? What's going on? And, they're talking about, his situation, why they're there. And, Flash Gordon is remembering things about, his time and the reason, he's setting up the story about who he is. And so the robot dispenses these little hands that jab them with their version of food, I guess.
I
It's
see.
substance to just keep them alive. And the robot keeps saying, it's like, please don't move, otherwise you'll be hurt, and then we'll have to, we'll have to operate on you or something like that. And so Flash Gordon then uses that as his way of escape, where he purposefully moves so that it bursts an artery, so that the robot has to go and administer first aid.
Right.
And then as he does that, that gives him the way to escape. But he's still bleeding,
yeah.
profusely.
he's bleeding out.
But the other guy said that he was a doctor or medic or something like that. So he knows how to help him. So anyway, so he helps him up, and he's all like, you lost a lot of blood. And he's like, oh yeah, well, and then it worked. And he's like, yeah, but now what do we do? And then he's like, now we get out of here. He's like, okay, genius, what are we going to do? And so he cleans himself up, and he's like, wait, you're Flash Gordon. You're the, savior type of person that all the stories are about. And he's like, yeah, I'm right. Now let's go get out of here. So he's trying to like MacGyver his way out. Well, first he tries kicking it, and then and then he starts trying to MacGyver his way out, and that then starts alerting the attention of all the dinosaur guys. I have no idea. Again, this is first interaction with Flash Gordon, so I don't know. This is probably a famous race of monster or something like that maybe fans of Flash Gordon will know. I don't. They're just dinosaur lizard people. But yeah, you get good action where there's just like, okay, we're opening fire. And so he throws the little needle thing at them to distract them. Lots of action. He ends up bursting into one of the tanks that are there. I like this little shot of him jumping to go and get the gun. I thought that was pretty good. It's like, okay, yeah, well, they're grayed out, so you can see how he's jumping. And then it's like, okay, he's got the gun. Cool. Now he shoots him, and they're like, oh, did you kill it? And it's like, these guys are a little tougher than the thing. And then the thing is, because he shot the tank that was behind it, that was holding that monster in, that they made reference to earlier. They're all like, oh, what's in the tank over there? It's like, you don't want to find out. And so there's
nice.
the Chekhov's gun payoff for that, which was good. But then,
he wants to know
how he shaved so quickly. He took the knife from the robot and he started shaving, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think he shared the pictures, Freddy, right?
Yeah, I skipped that part in the book. He does show him shaving himself.
Halloweener says you can also read them for free on the Internet Archive. We'll see for how long, since they lost that court appeal.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they lost the court appeal for their website, so they might have to be taken down soon. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work out. But wow, what a splash page! I really dig this splash page. Also, I will mention not a note, but I will say the lettering here is really superbly done. I'm really digging the lettering work here for this issue.
Yeah, it's not too much.
Yeah.
They are. I mean, it really just it gives you exactly the amount of information that you need,
Mm-hmm.
and not really too much more. It's not bogged down by a lot of dialogue and a lot
Right.
of exposition. Like I said, this is my first interaction. Like the when the guys, first burst in, the dinosaur guys first burst in, they didn't go and say, "We're the Zetonians from, planet Star," and, and this is our planet and you're the trespassing, It's
Yeah.
like they just went to shot, and
Gotcha.
so then now they have to deal with the monster squid thing that's chasing them now. And then they get into the
Lovely.
elevator and then shoot the elevator down while the monster was in it while they're climbing out. And all the while, Flash Gordon's all like, I need to get back and I need to save the princess. She's probably in chains or something like that. I need to help her. But then the finisher is that the princess is now this queen, empress, and she's actually the one that ordered Flash Gordon to be killed.
And the plot thickens.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Okay. Not bad.
So that was really cool. And I really enjoyed this story. Again, it's a simple story. Oh yeah, there you go.
This is pretty cool. Even the little you explain what the story is about, it's a great, I guess, restarter to a series that is again beloved. It's a great intro to new readers who don't know Flash Gordon, or not new readers, but I guess people who don't know Flash Gordon is a great starter for that. It's pretty cool.
And it seems like this story takes place where all the adventures have already happened. Flash Gordon's already established. Yeah. This is just now a new story, and it starts with him just as Flash Gordon. We don't need the whole backstory of Flash Gordon. We don't need the whole origin story of Flash Gordon. We'll probably figure that out. Or if you want, like I said, if you want to know more about Flash Gordon, you could probably read the other issues or like what they said in the comic strips.
Oh, Halloweener, yeah. He said the strip comics on the Internet Archive.
And then the next issue, if you want to see what the cover is, I picked it up. I haven't read it yet, but that's one I really want to read. If you want to blow me up, this is where he's in like a arena type.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
Battle.
Well, I will say kudos to the publisher here for picking this property up, Mad Cave, and actually delivering a good product here. It sounds to me from your review, Kyle, that Jeremy Adams did a great job writing this issue, and I'm pretty sure he has the other issues ready to go. Mm-hmm. And the artist Will Conrad, I never heard of Will Conrad. Maybe he's done stuff that I haven't seen because I just didn't. Maybe he worked for Marvel, DC, and they snatched him up. I don't know. I'm not sure, but he's pretty good, man. Like I'm looking at his artwork, I'm like, wow, this guy actually is really good. He has really good sequentials.
Yeah, and the coloring again. This is another one of those parts. Like it's not too dark.
Who's the colors?
Like you mentioned, like
Lulu Ridge. Yeah.
Like you mentioned before, like we mentioned at comic book shops, where like a lot of comic books are all just very dark, not in terms of story, but in terms of color. And this one actually gave us some color and actually used some stuff.
Contrast.
Yes. How about that?
Yeah. Yeah, they made sure that to remind you who this guy is, because look, if everyone's kind of like colored out, but he's bright, he's the blonde, he has the red, and they always made sure to keep him that way, which is very nice, very consistent, which is important.
Like, okay, that's the one I'm focusing on because I know him and he's Flash Gordon. That's the one.
Wait, are you serious? He drew Goodwing, Ben, or are you joking?
What's Goodwing?
It's the Eric July's latest magazine comic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. Confirm that, Ben. I'm not sure. I don't know if you're joking or not.
He says serious.
Oh, there it is. Huh. Wow. Well, good for him. Good for him because I mean, this is he. I haven't read the issue. Now I actually might pick this up because I'm digging the art. The story sounds right up my alley. It's very straightforward, like you said, simple story. But hey, it has great cause, what I call cause and effect. You know what a good story is supposed to have. He escapes, kills one of the robot guards. Therefore, the reptilian guards show up now with heavy artillery, and they
Right.
have themselves a nice little fight. And yeah, they just go at it, which
Yeah,
is
and then
great.
you have the the big monster that
The
comes
big
out.
monster at the end. Now they have to escape from that one,
Yeah.
and
Like, it's like one, into the from the frying pan into the fire type of thing.
yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
facial expressions are great. The overall
I know, I
presentation
love
is
that
fantastic.
look that Flash Gordon gives.
Right here,
Like,
this one.
oh, no, right above it where, it's
Oh,
like, did you kill it? And he's kind of like, I don't think
yeah. Like,
so.
I don't know if I did. I shot at something, and this is a great looking monster too.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So,
I also like the
uh,
fact too that it's like it's not too generic
right.
space stuff. Like with this type of storyline, you can get kind of too generic. Um it is, and it seems like there is definitely
Ready.
some
The hell.
it's yeah, so what?
But yeah, you were
um
saying. Sorry, you were saying.
Anyway, that it seems like there's definitely a style that they're doing, and it's
Mm,
very.
yeah.
It kind of reminds me, like I can understand how this influenced. If this is indicative of the comic strips and the way it looked and stuff like that, I can see how George Lucas could take this and then imagine Star Wars from it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And they're starting slow too. They didn't immediately, like you said, they didn't immediately go into the space opera story. They went Prison Break.
Right,
Very
and that's it.
grounded story, set in this world, and it works. It really does work. Especially for the
So,
new readers who, like you said, they're like yourself, you've heard of Flash Gordon, but you never really cared to watch the movies or read the strips.
mm-hmm.
You just saw the
And
cover and went like, "Ooh, look at this cover! This is pretty cool."
And guess what? It had dialogue, it had action, it had it had a cliffhanger ending,
Ah,
you
so
know?
so it's safe to say that this writer, this artist, were not lazy.
Yes, I
a
would
lot of
definitely say.
love, a lot of love, tender and care went into this issue. You could tell. So
From every
fantastic.
department.
Kudos. Yeah, kudos.
Yeah.
Alex Raymond was incredibly imaginative. He set the stage and looked for most every superhero comic that followed. You know what? If this is taking a page from Alex Raymond, because obviously, um, even I knew who Flash Gordon was, even though I never seen the movie or read the strips, but I know enough to know that it did heavily influence George Lucas that got us Star Wars. So
Right.
obviously, yeah, it's Alex Raymond must be one of those individuals who is revered by people who know of his work, but not revered broadly enough.
Yeah.
Yes, Freddie, please watch the replay and hit the like button. Don't forget to hit the like button.
But yeah, in terms of a beginner story, like you said, to introduce a character that, everybody kind of knows,
Yeah,
but revitalized, brought up to the new age with new artists and with a new story. Now, we'll see what issue 2 does,
right.
but based off of issue 1, it definitely got me going to want to go and pick up issue 2.
Good. Well, there you go. It did its job.
Yeah.
Halloweener says again, it's hard to I said again, it's hard to read modern comics after reading Alex Raymond. Tough act to follow. It's like that, isn't it? Like that Halloweener with with when you read a lot of the old masters of the craft. You know, when I look at Wally Wood's work, and I look at his inks and his pencils, I'm like, dude, this guy could have easily made it in the modern times if he was still alive, because of how much detail he put in his work. Because I have the oversized artist edition of Wally Wood's run on EC Comics, and he's just absolutely phenomenal. And the same thing for Jack Kirby, the same thing for Steranko, Gil Kane, Sal Buscema. I mean, the list goes on and on. And he's probably one of those guys, I would imagine. I haven't seen. Now I want to see Alex Raymond stuff. I actually want to pay close attention to that. Oh, come on, man. So, moment of truth, real quick. Is it worth the pickup? Flash Gordon #1 from Mad Cave Comics.
Is definitely worth the pickup. I highly recommend. Go pick it up, read it. You know, it's definitely a lot better than newer stuff that's coming out that we talked about earlier in the show. Yeah, as I mentioned though, like the biggest critique that I could give it though is it's a very simple story, but sometimes simple stories are good. You know, based off all this stuff that I got this week, having that as just a nice introduction story, it worked.
Good. Awesome. So there you have it. Worth the pickup.
Yep.
Ben says, Julius, check out his RIP Kirby series. I think that work is better than his Flash Gordon work. Oh, okay. I definitely will now. Now that I had that, now that he has my attention, because I am really impressed with his sequentials. It's always great to see either up and comers or artists I haven't heard of or seen on like the shelves, or maybe they kind of my radar doesn't pick up on them. Mm-hmm. It's always fun to discover someone who is a student of the game and is on their way to master the craft, and he's one of them. Immediately, just in the pictures you showed me just now with that we just reviewed, just with those enough for me to be like, I need to buy this book. I have to buy it now because I like this guy's work. I want to actually
want to read it.
Want to read it, yeah.
And look at it.
Enjoy it. And enjoy it and look at it and all that. So
yeah, facial features and everything were all great.
Alex Raymond did RIP Kirby after Flash Gordon. Nice. Oh, he's talking about Raymond. My bad.
Well, but still.
Yeah, still. But both. Now you guys are mentioning Alex Raymond, I'm definitely be checking out his work too, because I'm always on the lookout for rediscovering old masters that I haven't heard of. Maybe I've heard of, but never really looked into it. Wally Wood was the only one when I picked up my first EC Comics for the first time, when I actually found it in the back bin. I was like, what's this? Oh, this is pretty cool. And so Wally Wood was the first old school 50s artist where I was like, I have to who is this guy? I want to know more about this guy. I like this guy's stuff. So I'll definitely going to add him to my list, Alex Raymond, and also this new artist as well. But man, we went all out for this episode, didn't we?
I know. We're trying to make up for the previous
seriously
episodes.
But thank you guys for joining us. Halloweener, Freddie, Ben, Oli was here for a while. I don't know what happened to him. He's probably just bounced. Who else? Someone else was joining us. He was new. I didn't recognize his name. Wolf and Bear, welcome.
Halloweener,
Steven 7, aka Steven 7. He's the guy who drew the Ghetto Dragon cover, Kyle.
Oh, okay.
The one in the alley, the one where he's like this in the alley. He drew that. Just a cool tidbit of info there.
I have it somewhere.
But thank you guys for showing up, and thank you, Ben, for showing up and talking with us, listening to us talk and critique, and really put a spotlight on I guess, for lack of a better term, the problems with modern comics.
Yeah.
Hey, there you go. Hey, look, no new fan.
Great.
Yeah, and again, we like Kyle mentioned earlier in the show, we come from different walks of life. He's just started reading comics. He's only a year in reading comics. I've been
Actually,
reading
now
comics since I was
technically it's 2 years.
it's technically 2 years now. I've been reading comics since I was 12, so I've been reading since, ever since then, and never stopped. And as the years progressed, I kind of stopped because I saw the quality go down, and I just started focusing more on indie books. And now I'm doing my own stuff. And I have to always remind myself that I'm competing with other people who are in the mainstream, and I just gotta always push myself to be the best writer myself. So Vigilant Fury, if you backed it, you'll get it soon enough, and hopefully. And again, I want to remind everyone. Well, now that I have you here, before we call it a night, once the books are sent out and you guys have it, I'm going to set a date. I don't know when, but sometime in the near future, where I am going to open up the show to you, to
audience.
those who backed Vigilant Fury, who backed Reset Protocol, and hopefully backed Ghetto Dragon. And you're going to come on this show, and you are going to let me know what you think or what you thought of my writing.
Yeah.
Now, I've always proclaimed
He's going to sit in the hot seat.
Yeah, for sure, in the hot seat. I've always proclaimed myself to be a thick-skinned individual, so we're going to put that to the test. I want to see if I could pull a Mark Grunwald and really take, that letter I read to you guys earlier. I want to see if I'm able to take that in real time, because that was a letter, right? A letter is like, whatever. He's in Michigan. I'm in New York. I'm never going to meet that guy. But here, I'm going to get to see you guys face to face if you guys want to be on camera. And you guys are going to tell me whether or not Vigilant Fury was any good, Reset Protocol, or Ghetto Dragon, or for that matter, any works that I put out there with my name on it. So,
and then I'm going to be also sort of like a moderator type of thing too. So if you also don't want to be on camera and stuff like that, we can always do an option where if you want to text it, via chat or something like that, then I could be in your stead type of situation.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm excited for that, because I really am curious to know what you guys think of my writing, because I think that's what's missing today in today's comics, is that a lot of writers are very thin-skinned and they get really defensive, and I understand that sentiment because it is your baby, right? It's your expression, right? You expressed yourself and you shared it with people, and when you get feedback, it's like, well, how do you take that, right? Because we're in the business, like Rod Serling said, like we write for you, and
unless you're a complete narcissist that's just writing for yourself.
Exactly, to my high tower, right? But no, I don't want to be that kind of writer. The kind of writer I want to be is a writer who writes a good story, and you guys can enjoy. And so we'll see. That segment is going to it's going to be called I mean, there's going to be ground rules,
or like, Julius is not a good writer. Change my mind.
Yeah, there you go. And there's going to be ground rules. Obviously, I mean, you can't just come on here and say your book sucks. You're going to have to explain to me why it sucks.
Right?
Was it the dialogue? Was it my pacing? Was the story just crap all around? I mean, you got to like break it down for me, because how else will I grow or learn or get better if you guys just tell me, oh, you just suck, you're just terrible. No mama jokes. I can deal with mama jokes.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Deal with mama jokes. That's fine. But yeah, just keep your eye out for that. I will make an announcement soon, but again, I want to first fulfill the books first, get them in your hands, give you some time to read it. And if you guys are serious, if you guys really want to let me know what you think, I'm gonna open up the show and let me tell me what you really think about my books and my work.
Yeah. So one thing to always, talk the talk when we talk about other people's work. It's time to finally walk the walk,
Exactly.
Be on the other foot. Shoe on the other foot.
As Kyle likes to say for our show, build those experiences, right?
Yes.
Is that did I say it right?
Yes, build those experiences. That's
those experiences.
Our motto.
Yeah.
I came up with that I am going to copyright.
Yeah. And so, and I'm fully aware that I'm competing with other creators that are out there. And I'm fully aware that, hey, I'm not the best, but I want to see if I'm good enough for you to give me your attention, and not just your attention, but your money as well, because obviously I'm selling you my book.
Right.
So, yeah, just keep that in mind. Kyle, you have any last things you want to say before we call it a night?
No, just again, like, subscribe,
Thank you.
and
Thank you.
comment. We talk about this show being just a place to talk in order to have fun. Just talk about comic books, talk about current pop culture news and drama and all that stuff. But again, be respectful, be fun. This is we just want to make this a really fun community, and just have a good time. I don't know, Julius, are you there? Oh, you look like you were frozen. Are you still there?
Oh, I'm still here.
Oh, okay. You look a little frozen. That's the reason why you weren't
Oh,
moving.
okay.
But anyway, yeah. Also, as our tagline, build those experiences and read more comics.
Always the best. So, I always like to lead the show with something interesting that I find on the internet, something interesting that makes me laugh or thought provoking. But I want to stay with the theme here, and I want to end this with, again, another Rod Serling video clip of him speaking with these students, because it really, I recommend you guys watch the whole thing. It's a half hour long, especially if you want to be a storyteller. Rod Serling is one of my major inspirations as a writer, because he wrote, not only did he write, high concept sci-fi or high concept ideas, he mastered the art of doing that, but at the same time grounding the characters enough for you to connect with them. So that way you could accept both the high concept and the human side of the characters that he wrote. And so I've always studied his work closely, because he's, I think, the best at doing that. Him and Alan Moore is another one of my inspirations, because he did that well. He mastered that for me anyway. And there's other writers too who did that, but those two were the ones who really inspired me to be the kind of writer that I am now. And so I wanted to end this with again, Rod Serling, and this one is called "I Wish More Good Writers Would Put Themselves to the Test." Mm-hmm. And so this segment was very inspirational when I first heard it. It's a very short clip. It's like a 2-minute clip. And I always go back to this video whenever I feel like I'm not good enough, whenever I feel uninspired, or whenever I feel like I want to quit and just maybe, I'm human, right? I'm human.
Right.
Sometimes I have the valley days where I'm like,
after all.
So there are days where I'm like low and I'm like, maybe I'm not good enough. I should just quit. Screw it. But I watch this and I go, you know what? No, I got to keep going. I got to get better. And I got to prove, not just to you guys, but to myself, that I belong. I belong. Right. Yeah. So have a great weekend. I'm glad you guys, came back to watch us tonight. I know we were gone for a long while there.
Again.
And we want to keep this alive, going every Friday, and we want to keep on bringing back not just positivity but constructive critiques to books, because not everything is about hate, right? You should call out the stuff that's bad, but also call out the stuff that's good, and make and put a spotlight on those two equally. Hey, you know what, Streetlight? Streetlight, I know, man. I feel you, dude. But just trust me. Keep pushing yourself. Don't let that get to you. Don't let those intrusive thoughts get to you. You gotta just keep pushing yourself, man. What happened?
You gotta rewatch Freddy. What happened to me? I've explained it at the beginning.
Yeah. Watch the replay. You'll know how he got that what's it called? Splint.
Yeah, so, I don't know what you said at the beginning, but you're
already I think I said it wrong. I think I said stint.
Yeah, you did, but I didn't have the heart to tell you because you were already going on.
Right. All right. Well, that's it. Enjoy the weekend. We'll see you in the next one. Here's Rod Serling, enjoy.
All right. Peace.
I wish more good writers would put themselves and their own works to a test. I wish they would write. I too often hear from students, for example, or from anyone. I get this in the mail via correspondence in sizable, voluminous amounts. I'm not a writer, but I've got this idea, and if you could just write it. Well, that's not the key question. The key question is, can you sit down and write it? Would you try? And then, of course, they're hung up by style and technique. They're hung up by how do I split a page for a television script or something like that, which is hardly of the essence. It's story that counts. It's heart, it's feeling, it's reality, it's legitimacy, it's authenticity, it's honesty. It's the capacity for the printed word or the spoken word to move you. These are the key things, not if you know how to split a script or if you know how a screenplay or do you know what a camera direction is, this sort of thing. You can learn that in a trade school, I'm sure, and probably in 7 days.